One of my strengths is being a strategic thinker. I understand the importance of when I'm not fully versed in a topic, I need to partner with an expert to provide the information so that I can make informed decisions. Greg Ring, co-founder of the Giving Crowd, is someone I lean into, and I highly recommend when it comes to helping people in our churches process strategic giving. Greg, I know that you've had a passion and been involved in this area of stewardship and planned giving for a long time. Can you just give us a quick history of that?
Well, thank you, Mark. Yeah, it's been over 40 years now. I started the planned giving program as well as the foundation at Dallas Theological Seminary back in the early 1980s. We were there, my wife and I, over 12 years altogether. Since 1994, I've launched 2 firms, each with slightly different models, but both of them helping churches, parachurch organizations, mission agencies, and so on, in this arena of planned giving.
In the past, I remember you sharing with me your purpose or mission statement for churches and planned giving. Would you mind sharing that with us today?
You bet, Mark. Boston College professor Paul Shervish has estimated that over the next few decades, elders and baby boomers will pass in excess of $41 trillion to the next generation. The Wall Street Journal has called this a watershed event in world history. And while major universities and mega charities clamor for their piece of this pie, the local church is tragically standing on the sidelines as a spectator. The average American has 9% of their net worth in cash, while 91% is in assets. As the church limits its stewardship conversation to offerings and cash, mega universities and charities are helping our church members determine how they might leave a legacy with their 91% that's in assets. We're abdicating wisdom and the discipleship of wealth to secular universities who often stand diametrically opposed to a biblical value system, to the uninformed church member giving to a new science building at a secular college or giving to the church, or in both cases giving to charity. But we need to offer a perspective on how their legacy, whether small or large, can have life-changing impact for the cause of Christ. This conversation can be hard for pastors to engage in, so we want to crack the door open on this dialogue in a conversational video series entitled Legacy Found. Our prayer is that we can help churches across the country move from being a spectator to a vibrant, wisdom-giving participant in the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the world.
Wow, that's amazing. Greg, give me a couple of examples briefly of what that might look like.
We had a couple over in Wisconsin. They had a pretty good stock portfolio, and yet all of their giving was coming out of their checkbook. They could be giving appreciated stocks rather than giving out of their checkbook. If they give a appreciated stock, they're avoiding all the recognition of that long-term capital gain. They're getting 2 tax benefits. One, that they avoid the long-term capital gain tax, but they still get a fair market value deduction on the gift. We had a farmer down in Iowa that he'd accumulated a lot of farms over the years. He's retiring, and this year he gave one of his farms that ended up being about $1 million and gave that to one of our charities, and now he's amortizing that gift to them over a 10-year period of time. So whether it's a rental house or a piece of land, apartment building, or something big like a tech company, those are the situations that we're looking for to help people reduce or eliminate taxes in favor of children and charity.
So how does the process work to do planned giving?
Well, it was 4 steps in our work as we help people. The first is really just listening. Every family is different. Every situation is different. Do they have debt? No debt? What about the children? What about their plans for retirement? Do I treat all my children the same? When do I give them their inheritance? What form should it be in? All those things vary from family to family. So our first step is really just listening. Then we go into a preliminary proposal, which is kind of our first shot at building something that matches their goals. If you can think of it like building a house, and we're sort of the architects. The second step is now our first chance to say, here's what I heard you say, and here's some ideas. Step 3 then is revisions, because you say, well, gee, I thought I said 5 bedrooms, and I only heard 4 bedrooms. So we revise everything, and then we go into implementation. And we do that implementation with their advisors, if that's their preference, or we can bring in Generations Legal or somebody like that to help them.
I would have thought that folks, specifically business people, owners, financial leaders would already have these things put in place. Is that not the case?
What's interesting about that question, Mark, is that most financial leaders, most business owners already feel like they have everything put together. They have a revocable living trust. It may be 20 years old, but they have one. And they really don't know the areas that we live in as a firm. We're coming in with the objective of helping people, we like to say, disinherit the government in favor of charity. We live in an age of specialization, and our little niche is this philanthropy architecture. So surprisingly, no. They will think they have everything put together, but 19 out of 20 or 49 out of 50 times they will not.
Give us one or two takeaways.
Yeah, two things I'd say is if you think you might have some kind of a long-term capital gain event or some kind of a sale of an appreciated asset in the next 24 months or 36 months, hit the pause button. Slow down and let's look at options that you may not be aware of. The second thing is don't sign any binding agreements on a sales contract until you know what your options are. Frequently, I'll talk to somebody who says, I heard you speak last year and I want to get some of that charitable stuff done, and we're closing on the company sale here in 3 weeks. And once they have signed a binding contract, all of our options are off the table. The farther in advance that we can help someone, the better they are in terms of having time to just process and pray about it and talk about it and just consider things before they actually sign documents and make a decision.
Greg, thanks so much for being with us today. I am absolutely thrilled to extend this value, this added relationship to our pastors so that we can become even more strategic in our giving. And pastors, I want to encourage you to schedule time through CNC with Greg so that we might unlock giving now and into the future.